All right, jabronis, we're back. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. We made it. We got to the final holiday in the Holy Holiday Triumvirate. Christmas Day. Christmas week, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're listening. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Rosh Hashanah, whatever you celebrate, whenever you celebrate it. Happy, thanks, love, mazel. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. We're going to be talking about Christmas gifts. Favorite Christmas gifts, best gifts you ever gotten in your Christmas history. We're going to be talking about that in the junction. But first, we obviously have, administrivia, current events, highlights, things we got to knock out, business, if you will. First and foremost, 1 week away from Profile Pick 2023. Now, you could be listening to this after that time, and if so, then the pick is out there in the ether for everyone to enjoy. But if you hear this before New Year's 2023, please keep giving me your ideas for the theme. I got a couple good ones so far, and I'll be working on it and have it out there hopefully by midnight on January 1st, 2023. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on Instagrams. I don't know where else I'll put it. Maybe on my YMCA card or something. But it should be fun. It's always a fun picture. It's very Photoshoppy. It's not trying to be realistic or anything. It's ridiculous and silly and goofy. So we're going to have fun with it. Give me your fun ideas. Something that will last the entire year. That's what it needs to be. It needs to endure the whole year. So Christmas themed, probably not going to work. Single holiday is probably not going to work. Things that are trendy now that will likely not be trendy later on, probably not going to work. So let's think long term here, folks. And you can submit those to me anytime. Hotline, DM, text message, email, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you got to do it. All right, it's going to be very exciting coming up on the new year. It's always a good way to start the new year on a positive, because as you know how I feel about New Year's. If you haven't listened, go listen to the past 2 New Year's episodes. It's almost shot for shot the same episode. I didn't even realize I was saying the same thing, which goes to show you the consistency of the LPDS is unrivaled. Okay? Unfortunately, the consistency of the brainless in society is also unrivaled, because they have the same ideas of new year, new me, all that crap. We're going to have to deal with that again. I'm not going to get into it next episode. We're going to try to skip past that and think about the positives. We're going to start the year off right with a good profile pick. So get excited for that. What else we got going on? It's a little crazy here. I'm doing a late night recording. It's about 1:30 in the morning. The heat's busted in the house. We had JPL3 coming down to the dungeon to try to fix it. We were in the garage trying to fix it. It's 3 degrees out. Randy's running around everywhere, biting people, chewing on things. We're freezing our nubs off. I'm loopy and tired and what have you, and we're going to try to have a good, quick, no-nonsense Christmas episode. So bear with me here, folks. Now, speaking of Christmas, I did a little, I don't know what to call it. A little proactive, I can't think of a good way to describe this. I watch Hallmark Christmas movies. You know that. I watch the ones on GAF now. Great American Family. I forgot what it is. Great American Channel Network or whatever it's called. They do Great American Family and they have Great American Christmas. That's where all the top tier Hallmark talent jumped to this past year. Candace Cameron Bure, Danica McKellar, Jessica Lowndes, who's not a great actor, but she's a good singer, and she's easy on the eyeballs. A lot of the other good male actors, all the A-listers from Hallmark, jumped ship over to GAC and GAF, whatever you want to call it. So they're up and coming. So I've been watching their movies. Now, I will be honest with you, and this is sort of the genesis of what I'm going to be talking about here. Their movies, without these top-tier actors in there, these heavy hitters, the other movies are not great yet. Okay, the acting is sort of piss poor. The storylines are weak at best, very unrealistic. Not to say that historically speaking, the Hallmark Christmas movies and that family were realistic to begin with, but these were particularly not great. So what I did, I offered my services to GAF, whatever, in a little email to them, offering up consultation, part-time consultations, full-time if they have it, for me to provide them with insight on how to improve their military storylines, because those are a nightmare, completely unrealistic, absolute rubbish, tough to watch, gives the military even worse name than it already has, and I already give it just by being in it. And I offered my services in script writing, different creative ideas for storylines, because they're getting kind of tired. I tried to offer this to Hallmark too, but they didn't have an easy contact portal, if you will. So I'm still trying my luck on the Hallmark side, but we're trying to make things better here. As you know, on the LPDS, we're always trying to make ourselves better, the people around us better, the world better. And if I can offer that to GAF or Hallmark, then I'm gonna do it. Because I love those stupid movies. They suck. Those movies suck. They're stupid, they're unrealistic, they're cheesy, you can predict them. As soon as the movie starts, you know exactly what's going on, you know the names of the characters, you know that Tucker is the lawyer who was a big city lawyer. He came back to town to take care of his family, and now he wears flannel shirts and he does lawyer stuff while he runs his pop's pharmacy shop because he's sick and old and dying and he has to stay in his hometown. And then the big city girl comes back for Christmas. They get snowed in together. They do a little doo-doo-doo. 15 minutes before it ends, they get into a fight, and you think it's going to end and be over between the two of them, and then Santa Claus comes, the big man upstairs in red, comes down and saves the day with Christmas cheer, and they all make it to the Christmas Jubilee happy and loving, and and it all ends well. We got to change it up here, folks, okay? We got to spice things up for Christmas next year, and if we can do it from the LPDS seat, then we're going to do it. That's for damn sure. So stay tuned for more updates on that. Now, before we get into the good stuff, I want to give it a financial update. Tinfoil hat time. Financial update on the Ukraine support. Because like I said previously, I like to give numbers updates so everyone can understand and fathom just how much money we're spending here. Right now, had technical difficulties, sorry folks. Right now, we're up to $68 billion, and then the administration just offered up another $47 billion. Actor and president of Ukraine, Zelensky, was at the White House earlier, right before the holiday, wearing a very dramatic military green, moldy shit green sweatsuit to go to the White House and plead his case for more money. And federal Muppet Mitch McConnell said that Congress and the Senate, their number one priority is Ukraine and support to Ukraine. So forget about everything else going on in the world. That's the number one priority, so we're going to give them more money. $47 billion plus $68 billion, if you do the numbers real quick, it's over $100 billion, okay? Now, if you want to put that into perspective a little bit, we did not spend that much money in Afghanistan supporting the Afghan people from the 70s on. If you go from the 70s when we first started supporting them in the Mujahideen against the Russians all the way up to when we left and retreated in 2019, we did not spend that much and give them that much in support, okay? And we fought that war. That was one we were in. So, again, put it in perspective. Now we're going to take the tinfoil hats off. We're going to get back to the good stuff, okay? Now, real quick, I watched this thing. It's a Barstool thing. I love Barstool. I'm very biased for them. I know people hate on Barstool, and they hate on Dave Portnoy and all that. I love them, Okay, I want to be a part of them. I want to. That's if I could do that for a living, I would do that for a living. Okay, and then once again, I'm offering my services to Dave Portnoy and Barstool because I watched a video. It was an 1.5 hour long video about the making of a Barstool movie by 2 of the guys at Barstool. They're good guys. I like them. They do good content, do good work overall. But essentially, it was an 1.5 hours of them describing how they wanted to make a movie, and because of their laziness and procrastination and failures from start to finish for the past year, they still have 0 progress on a Barstool movie. And it took them an 1.5 hours to tell us that. So now what I'd like to do is offer my services, and you can clip this to Big Dave Portnoy, the president, Stool Prez. I could do that for you. Okay? You want an 1.5 hours worth of content talking about how lazy that somebody is and how much of a failure they are? I'll do it at half the price. I could do it part-time. I could do it from wherever. I could do it remotely. I'll send you the footage. You put it up there, and people will eat it up. And you'll save money, okay? You're traveling around away from New York to save money on taxes. I'm going to save you more money and offer my services as a part-time consultant and content guy, if you will, content creator, for half the price probably less than half. And I could give you an 1.5 hours worth of garbage, okay? I've been doing it for 2.5 years now, no problem. I can continue doing it. If you throw a couple shekels my way, all the content can be yours, and it'll be a lot better than that slop. And I love those 2 guys, and I don't want to dog on them personally, but an 1.5 hours to tell us you did nothing for the past year, and you just film yourselves doing nothing and being dramatic and having no results? Come on, guys. We have to be better than that. We can be better than that. We are better than that here. Let's prove it, Dave. Ball's in your court now. You probably won't even see this, so whatever. All right, with that, we're going to get right into it. I think it's going to be a pretty quick episode, actually, for the first time ever. But we'll get it going. We'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by the Christmas Cash Saving Consultants. Are you trying to provide your family with the best Christmas possible, loaded with gifts, but you're too poor or lazy to buy more than one gift per kid? Then call the Christmas Consultants today, and they'll give you money-saving tips in order to trick your kids into thinking you actually care about them this holiday season. With ideas like buying a puzzle and separating the pieces and wrapping them individually, or wrapping a bunch of empty boxes and putting them under the tree for a picture so you can show that picture to your family years later and prove to them that it was a great Christmas, then the Christmas Consultants are here for you. So, visit www.nocashnoclass.com and use the promo code SHITTYPARENT for 29% off your first consultation and win Christmas back for your family. Now, I realize some of you might be listening to this late. This is actually a sponsor that was submitted to me by Brother-in-Arms, who provides also Bradley Blotter news updates. And he has a service going on, a consultation service that provides these tips and tricks for people to trick their kids into thinking that they care. So it might be a little too late, but if there's time, sometimes people celebrate Christmas late. I had a friend, he's a good friend of another brother-in-arms, and his family used to celebrate Christmas a day later, or a couple days later, because the stuff in the stores was selling cheaper after Christmas. They have all these fake sales leading up to Christmas thinking you're saving money, but they're really not sales at all. And then after, when they're trying to offload all the Christmas and holiday crap for the next season, they put those bitches on clearance. And his family used to scoop up all the gifts then, and they would have Christmas later. So that's a good idea too. If you wanted to do that, couple that with a consultation at 29% off, now you're in business, Okay, you're looking at a pretty damn good Christmas. And if your kids are young enough or dopey enough, you could just trick them into thinking that it's actually Christmas Day. They don't know math. They don't know calendars. They're not looking at the stars and the moon to figure out what day it is. Hit Walmart on the 26th of December. Tie a bow around the Walmart bag and give them the Christmas that they really deserve. Trickery. So with that, the Cage fact. All right. As we discussed previously, we talked a lot about the National Treasure series coming out on Disney Plus. Apparently, it's not great. And of course, the discussion keeps coming up about, is there going to be a National Treasure 3? Is the Great One going to be a part of that as well? They talked to the producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, and he stated clearly in this one interview that they're still in talks, and Nic Cage is still on board to do it. Now, when they talked to the Great One, NC, he did have a little bit of a jab at Disney, actually. And I'm not mad about it. I mean, I like Disney and all, but they got their problems too, especially this one. And he was talking about how he was frustrated initially when the first round at National Treasure 3, 14 years after the second one, got nixed. Remember that? It was supposed to come out and then it got canked by Disney. And that was because they said to Nic Cage that, you know, you had a couple of movies that we made with you in it that didn't go so well. Sorcerer's Apprentice didn't make the money that they hoped for, which is wild to me because I thought that was a pretty good movie. And that's unbiased. It was, you know, campy, if you will. It had that one skinny kid from She's Out of Your League. He's a good actor. I forgot his name. But I thought it was a pretty decent movie. Alfred Molina was in it. He's tremendous. But it didn't make the money they wanted to. And then Ghost Rider didn't make the money they wanted it to. And then they said he made a movie, Drive Angry, around the same time. And they were quoted saying that movie came and went. So they kind of dropped the picture, dropped number 3 off the table. And Cage said that, you know, he's like, for better or worse, Disney's a fair weather friend. When the chips are up, when you're making them money, they're best pals with you. But when things are down and you're not making them money, well, you're on the bottom shelf, pal. And that's what they did. They bottom shelved him. And now that he's had, you know, another meteoric rise, Disney's calling back again. Hey, Nick, we got this great idea for this movie we want you to be in. So he's a man of honor. So he's obviously open to the idea of doing it. It would be a great film. No matter what, if the film sucks, it's going to make money. Okay? People have been dying for a National Treasure 3 for over a decade. Almost 2 decades now. Okay? Even if it's garbage, people are going to go see it. All right? And it can't be any worse than the series is doing on the streaming service right now, because I heard that's absolute trash. All right? That's what Disney gave us for Christmas. They gave us trash. They did not consult with the Christmas consultants. And they gave us trash and see right through it. All right? So hopefully that happens. All right, that's the Cage fact. Moving right along into the junction, spin the logo up. I don't have a Christmas logo. I don't know if I should or not. It's really one time a year. It's a lot of work for me. I'm not good at the photoshopping stuff and the editing stuff still. I'm trying to work through it. So to do all that work just to get a Christmas logo up there, it wouldn't be worth your time or mine, trust me. So I probably just won't do it. Maybe I'll find someone with actual talent and they can do it for me one day. All right. We're talking Christmas gifts. I put out to the junction, to the LPDS universe, to tell me what your best Christmas gift was as a child or an adult, or your favorite gift, and share that with the audience. Again, we're trying to keep it positive. There's not really too much of a lesson here. It's really just bringing back good memories and getting back into the headspace of positivity and good times. Now, I'm not saying we have to cling to the past, but we're doing the exercise in our head to focus on the positive and the good with gratitude and that gets the muscle memory going. So it is a little bit of an exercise and a lesson there. So there you go. There's always a lesson, no matter what. Even when I don't want one, there is one. So I got some feedback. A little disappointed. I have to say I'm a little disappointed about the low turnout of feedback I got for this year's Christmas topic. Now, I don't know if people forgot, they were busy with their lives. I understand that. It's a busy time of year. There wasn't a huge window to get your feedback in. So thank you for the couple of people that took the time to do that, but we're still going to roll with it. I know sometimes, life gets in the way, so I get it. I'm not mad. I'm just a little disappointed. I thought there was going to be more. That's probably more of a reflection on me. If we're going to be objective and do the LPDS step back, it's probably an indictment on my ability to reach the masses and be effective in getting this stuff out there to you. So I apologize for that. We're gonna learn and grow from that and build for the future. All right, this first one here, we're just gonna get right into it after me flapping my gills. This first one here is actually it's a pretty good one. It's not a gift, but it's really more of a Christmas memory that this fella had, and that was the fact that every Christmas as a child, and he didn't say how old he actually was, but as a ute, if you will, and I will, his favorite thing, the best thing about Christmas for him was after opening his gifts, he would get on the landline and call his best pal in the neighborhood, and they would spend God knows how long talking about each gift that they got and exchanging gift discussions. And see if they got the same gift or they got complimentary gifts. Maybe someone got, a Bebop and someone got a Rocksteady, so that they could bring their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles army together and have one big fight or something. I know that was something that happened to me as a kid sometimes, is that if the parents knew there was a popular gift going around, they would buy the complimentary versions for each of us so that we can come together and swarm, with whatever, G.I. Joe, Barbie and Ken, if that's what you were into, what have you. So his memory was doing that and then scheduling the play date during that off time when there's that window in school when you're off for Christmas and New Year's, and it seems like an eternity. It's amazing for you, and it's probably a nightmare for your parents. They would schedule the time then to pack up all their new toys and rendezvous somewhere and have at it for a couple of hours. And that's a fun memory. That's a fun thing to think about, and that's definitely a favorite for anybody, really. If you go back to your Christmases, it was very exciting to be able to tell your friends what you got and hear about what they got. That's pretty cool shit. Another thing this guy said, the same guy, he said his new favorite thing is watching his kid open his gifts. Because he's got a youngster. He's got one on the way coming pretty soon, any second now. But watching his little son open gifts now is his favorite thing now. His favorite gift is seeing his kid happy. Seeing that he got the gifts he wanted from his parents and from the big man in red, and all is right in the world. And that's a real growth moment right there for that guy, because you go from your favorite thing being you getting all the gifts and telling your friends about it to giving the gifts and seeing how happy others get. And if that's not an indictment on the big three, then I don't know what is, folks. Okay, because this guy's a diehard listener and a true fan for life, and I have to believe a little bit that he's following the big three, and it's paying dividends now. So good for him. All right, this next guy, I don't know if I believe this one. This guy said that he got his first fellatio around Christmas time, and he considers that to be his favorite gift. Now, I happen to know this guy personally. He was a co-worker. He's a friend. He might drop down to acquaintance after this. But I find it hard to believe that this guy was able to find some girl dumb enough to do fellatio on him, to do mouth stuff around the holidays. Okay, certainly not in high school or middle school. Maybe in college, they were drunk at a party, a holiday party or something. But certainly not in high school and middle school when hormones were raging, and that's when, if you got girls or if girls got guys, then that's when you were cool. I'm telling you, this guy was not cool. He was probably very much like me and was not cool. Okay, and that's not trashing him. He's a stand-up individual now, a great friend, might be an acquaintance. I don't know yet after this one, but he's a great friend. He's a great worker. He's another brother in arms, a military member, serving our country strong. But I think he was probably a loser back then. Okay? I know losers. I don't know how many times I have to say that. If anybody knows losers, it's me. I know losers. I am a loser. I'm probably the best loser of them all. There's nobody's a bigger loser than me, so I know when I can sniff a loser out a mile away with this honker. So this guy was not getting fellatio, not doing any throat stuff back in the day, so maybe he got lucky in adulthood before he got married and had a family. I don't know, but I find it hard to believe that's his favorite gift. And if it is, you got to find better friends and family, pal. Get better gifts next time, because that's tough. Because that your childhood must have sucked if you didn't get anything good up until fake throat stuff. Okay? I didn't really want to talk about it because it's a family show, it's a Christmas show, but I got no other feedback. This is what we're working with here, folks. So thank you for that submission. Now, I had a couple. I racked my brain to try to rack and stack and rank what my favorite gift was, but I couldn't do it because I'm weak-minded, and I'll admit that. I got it. I'm weak. So what I did was I broke it down into different sort of eras of life and what was going on in the world back then, both around me and within me, if you will. Now, my first favorite gift that I remember, and I think we actually have it on video on a VHS somewhere in this dungeon here. In fact, I think it's in that black milk crate right there. I see a couple of VHSs as we speak. We were living in Rockaway Borough, New Jersey. Okay, it was the late 80s, early 90s. And I wanted a Tonka bulldozer so I can play with it in the sandbox we had in my backyard. Now, the bulldozer was metal. It was no plastic garbage. Okay, this was a hunk of steel. Tonka was not messing around back in the day. I don't know how they are now, but back in the early 90s, at the end of the 80s era, the Wild West era, they were still not messing around with their toys. And they had this bulldozer that can haul some sand, baby. And I had to get my grubby little hands on it. And of course, I wrote to Santa Claus. I sent that letter out, and we get down to our tree was in the middle of the living room, just to the right of the fireplace. So the fireplace is over here for yous out there in YouTube land, and the tree was right there in the middle, and my stuff was on the left side of the tree. I know I'm using my right hand, but left side of the tree for visual sake, towards the fireplace, so I can use that little ledge of the fireplace to set up my toys, my gifts, on display for everyone else who walked into the house. The first thing that they were going to see, my prized possessions. Okay, and I remember I opened this thing up. It was a big box because they kept, Santa Claus or my parents kept it in the box. And as soon as I ripped one of the sheets off of the wrapping paper, and it just says right there, Tonka, and I knew it. And on that video, and you can hear me squeaking like a little girl. I was like, a bulldozer, I got the bulldozer. Man, was I happy. I don't know if I was even able to pick the thing up. It was 100 pounds, this damn thing. It was a real truck, might as well have been. And I was so pumped. I'll never forget that feeling of opening up that bulldozer and getting out to that sandbox. I even think I used it out with the snow and the rest of the wintertime out in the yard to bulldoze some snow off the deck. You gotta pay your dues at the Libretti household. I was 5 years old, and life ain't free. So I used the bulldozer to help. You work smarter, you're not harder. Work smarter, not harder. I think I just said work smarter, you're not harder. I hope you're not hard. This is a family show after all. Anyway, the next gift I got, this was as I got, I think, a little bit older. It might have been within this, like the next year or before that. I don't know. I just remember it because it was after my grandfather, JPL2, got in my ear about flying in the Air Force, in the military. And I was old enough to kind of comprehend that. My grandfather was in the Army Air Corps in World War II, but he had garbage eyesight, so he couldn't fly. But he would teach the infantrymen, because they popped him over to the infantry so he could go peel potatoes and hide behind rocks against the Nazis. And he would teach the infantry how to be able to identify aircraft just by looking at them in the sky. They're silhouettes, they call it. You just see the bottom, the black, the bottom, the dark bottom of the planes, the silhouettes. And he would be able to pick them out in the sky. That's a B-17, that's a P-38, that's a P-51, that's a Messerschmitt, that's a how you doing, whatever. He had it. That's a kamikaze. He knew it. I don't know how. He couldn't see for shit. But he knew it. And he started talking to me about airplanes. And from that point on, all I wanted to do was fly. In the Air Force, for the airlines, whatever it was. And I got these two gifts that year for Christmas. One of them was this F-14 plane that was, it was a plane, regular plane, and then on the back of it, it had what looked like a joystick. It was a joystick that didn't move around on the plane. You just held the plane with this joystick like this. And it had buttons on there that made sounds of like missiles firing and takeoffs and what have yous. And you can flap the wings out and back because it was an F-14. The F-14 Tomcats, even though it was a Navy aircraft, that thing was pretty bitchin'. So I liked it, and it had the wings that went out and back. I had F-16s too. That's my favorite plane if we're getting into it. But the F-14 was very cool and had the buttons. Quick side story about the F-14 toy I had. I had a little doo-doo with my brother Nicky Sticks when he was a youngster with that plane in the room. And he took the plane and he boffed me on the head with it. I got a bloody head and everything. I had curly hair at the time, if you can believe that, and it was bleeding and it was nasty. And I think that was the last I saw the plane. They probably had to send it away for evidence or something. But anyway, I got that thing. That was cool. The next thing I got was this 747 toy. 747 is a Boeing aircraft. It's Air Force One. For those of you, for reference, who don't know what a 747 is, Air Force One is a Boeing 747 aircraft. It's got that big, bulbous Libretti nose at the front there for the second level or whatever. And I had this big, it was a cartoony toy. It wasn't realistic looking. It was definitely a toy and not like a model or something like that. But this thing, I don't know if I can have a picture anywhere, maybe in an old, not yearbook, but an old photo album my mom has. I'm holding this thing up like a fish, like this, and it's almost the same size of me. I'm holding it up by the tail. It was almost like for reference to show you this prized possession I had, and it was almost the same size as me. And this thing was killer because when you turned it on, it had batteries, it would move forward, and then as it's going forward, like it was on takeoff, the front of the aircraft popped up. Not like a wheelie, it just had an extended front nose wheel, and it would just extend down, and the plane would go up like this, like it was taking off. It wouldn't get airborne, obviously. It was just a toy, folks. It wasn't an RC plane or anything. And it looked like it was taking off, and it made all the sounds, and the lights went off, and it was bitchin'. Man, was that thing cool. And I loved that plane, and I had that for, I don't know how long, probably only 5 or 6 weeks, before I broke it, but it seemed like a lifetime. That and the F-14, that's what did it for me. And then I eventually got a book about the F-16. It was like a pop-up book, and it showed you how you eject, and it showed you inside the turbine engine and all that stuff, and that did it for me, and I'll never forget that. I used to have dreams after getting that plane, those 2 planes that Christmas. I used to have dreams that I was an airline pilot, like John Travolta with his own airline plane, like an old commercial plane. And I had dreams that I had this plane parked in our driveway in this house in Rockaway Borough. This driveway was a small horseshoe driveway that fit about 2.5 cars at the time. It was like 2 cars and our bicycles. That's what fit in there. And I used to dream that was parked in the horseshoe. It was 747, and I would go in. I was the pilot. And that was probably my first lucid dream. Not wet dream, family show. Lucid dream, where I actually thought I was the pilot and I was turning the buttons on. I remember it had red cloth like carpets and chairs. Everything was colored sort of like a red color because my first airline ride was when we went down to Disney years before that, before my brother was born. We went down to Disney World, and the plane had like a red upholstery. So my plane had a red upholstery, and I can fly the shit out of that thing. And it's bittersweet because I'm not flying now, because I'm a broke dick. But it's a good memory to focus on the good and not really harp on, that big matzo ball of a failure in my life. So we won't talk about that though. It's a Christmas show. So the third and final gift that was really my favorite. I had a lot of good gifts. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I only had 3 good gifts, just like I'm sure you guys had years of good gifts that you just didn't remember because it kind of blends together. But the third good gift, and I discussed this, I don't know if it was a previous Christmas episode with Nikki Sticks or just in conversation, but it was when we got the N64. Now, I believe the Nintendo 64 came out in 1996, but we didn't get it until a year or 2 later. I believe a year later we got a 97, Christmas 97, I believe. Now, I will go check. In fact, I'm going to go check right now, see if I have. I have a box over here in YouTube land, if you're looking, I'm pointing behind the camera, with a bunch of memorabilia in there, LPDS memorabilia, and I think I have an old Christmas list in there, and I think that's the year I have it on there. So stand by 1 second. I'm going to go look for that real quick. I got the list. All right, it's right here. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, what it says. I'll read it to you. Johnny's Christmas List 1997. I spelled Xmas wrong. I don't know if you can see that on YouTube land. I spelled it with 2 S's like an idiot. Spelled Xmas wrong. And this is very detailed, okay? Now, this is also the same year I began my investigation as to the veracity of Santa Claus, whether he's real or not. Okay? And if you can see again on the list, there's asterisks on several of these items on the list, and I annotate at the bottom. Very detail-oriented back in the day, little LPDS. These starred items in the asterisk are the ones I want the most. Okay? Just so Santa Claus knows, if you had to narrow it down from this list of 12 down to 6, these 6 are the ones I want. Okay, so number 1 on the list, Nintendo 64. Number 2 was GoldenEye the game. Number 3 was Star Fox 64 the game. Number 4, wide leg Jenko jeans, size 14 waist. Jenko jeans were a big ticket item back in 1997. I believe I was in 4th or 5th grade at the time, and everyone had Jenkos, and I wanted a pair of Jenko jeans. I don't know if I ever got Jenkos or if I got the Paco version because they were a little cheaper. They were at Burlington Coat Factory, but I asked for that. Was number 4 on the list. It's not starred off, so it's not the top of the list. It's just number 4 in the list, not ranked 4. So wide leg jean size 14. Number 5. God, do I suck as a kid. I was such a loser, folks. Overalls size 14. I wanted Oshkosh Bagosh overalls as a 5th grader in 1997. If that doesn't tell you the kind of loser that I was back in the day, I don't know what does. Okay? I wanted video games and overalls so far. We're not even halfway down this list yet. Number 6 was the Mongoose Free Agent Ambush with pegs. That's a bicycle. Now this bitch I used to see in a magazine in the library, in the school library, that was run by Mr. Inguijado. Jean Inguijado, may he rest in power. He just passed away recently. He was our librarian. Very strict, no-nonsense kind of librarian, almost like Bookman was in Seinfeld. And then one of the Sports Illustrated had this ad. It was a full 2-page really, ad that you opened up, and it was for this Mongoose bike. And it was like a dark green with some yellow writing. And Mongoose at the time was the best for stunt bikes. There was none better than Mongoose. And they sort of rebranded and they make garbage Walmart bikes now. I think they're getting back into the stunt bike game. But at the time in the 90s, all the top X Games athletes and stuntmen had the Mongoose bike. So I wanted that. I initially had it start off asterisks, but I took it off because, you can't get everything you want, and I understood that at a young age, and I try to teach that now. All right, number 7. Here we go. Here, this is a star. This is a priority item. An actual photograph of you, meaning you, big man, Santa Claus. Number 8 was the gold controller for N64. We're back to the video games. Nerd, loser, video games, overalls. Number 9 was a really, really big piece of coal. Now, this is why I asked for this. Not because I thought I was bad. I was bad, but I didn't think I was bad. I was a little shit. I was a loser, a little shithead, smartass. I wanted the coal because the story goes, if you're bad, you get coal from Santa Claus. And the only way to keep proving he was real was that he had to give me something that would prove he was real, like coal. My parents wouldn't give me coal. They don't know where to get coal. They're not coal miners in Pennsylvania with the Zoolander family. My dad's a struggling lawyer. My mom was working 18 different jobs, including a taste tester at Nabisco. They weren't getting coal anywhere in New Jersey. So I figured Santa Claus, if I get coal, then he's real, like a real hunk of coal. But I'll get to this after the list. Remind me about the coal after. Even funnier story. Okay, number 10 was a personal note to me from you, Santa Claus, addressed to Johnny L., which is me. I'm Johnny because my father's John. My grandfather was John Sr., even though he was the second. He wasn't a senior. I never met my great-grandfather, JPL1, the man who started it all. Ground zero, if you will. So I wanted that note. So you couple those 3 things together so far. You got the picture of you, Santa Claus, the hunk of coal, and a personalized letter from Santa Claus to me, Johnny L. Now, the reason I did that is because every year Santa Claus writes a letter to the family that he leaves after, next to the plate of cookies. Well, for us, we gave panettone, which is sort of like, I don't know what it's called. It's like an Italian breakfast. It's not really a pastry, but it's like a breakfast loaf. It's like a bread, but it's not a bread and it's not a cake. It's like an Italian fruit cake, but not cake. It's very flaky. It's very delicious. You go look it up. Panettone, P-A-N-N-E-T-T-O-N-E. Probably spelled that wrong. Maybe it's one N. I don't know. Look it up. It's very good. You toast it. You put a little butter on there. You have it in your coffee. It's delicious. Anyway, that's what we would give him. And then at the end, the next morning, the plate would be empty. The espresso would be drunk. and there would be a note from Santa Claus to the family. Now, I knew, I was smart enough to know that anybody could have wrote that letter, but the real Claus, who is the only one seemingly seeing this list, he would write a personal letter to me. My parents weren't seeing this. Was a sealed letter to the North Pole. They're not opening this up. That's a federal crime. JPL2 would be turning in his grave right now if he knew my parents were opening my mail. So that's why I wanted that letter. Number 11 was the Frogger game for CD-ROM. Another computer game because I was a nerd loser in overalls, apparently. And number 12 was the Warcraft game pack. Now, for you New Age nerds out there who live in the World of Warcraft, before World of Warcraft was just the game Warcraft. And there was 3 games, 3 CDs, plus the expansion CDs you can get, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, and the expansion set. And you bought those bitches from CompUSA, and you downloaded them on your computer, and hopefully they all fit on your computer with the memory and drive space on there, and you could play the Warcrafts that way. No internet gaming at the time. I'm sure there was for the super nerds, but I wasn't there. I was a stupid nerd. So I can only play the CD games, not online. So I wanted Frogger and Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. I actually got them. So I remember correctly, here's what I did get out of this list. Okay, and this will bring me back to the Cole story. Okay, here we go. I got the N64. Now, if you remember, I don't know which episode I talked about. Probably something with Nikki Sticks is that same year is when I wanted to buy the N64 myself, and I was hustling and doing side jobs and stealing money from people to come up with enough money to go to Costco to spend $200 to get their package deal of N64. It came with Star Fox, it came with 2 controllers, it came with a Rumble pack. That's what I wanted, so I was going to do it, but my family got it for me. My parents got it, not Santa Claus. They consulted with the big man, and they were the ones who got it for me. So I got the N64, we got the GoldenEye. The Star Fox came with the game because they got it from Costco. I did not get the Jinko jeans that year. I remember distinctly I went separately off holiday to Burlington Coat Factory where my mom made me get the Paco jeans because they were cheaper and we were poor, and it made sense now, but not at the time. So I was a double loser. I got the overalls. I wore them a lot until I thought I was going to outgrow them pretty fast. I could probably still fit in them now, though. If I had them somewhere, I'd wear them on the show one day and show you. But I got the overalls. I was a loser. I did not get the bike, which is fine because it was not on. I pulled the star off. There's no longer asterisks. I didn't get the bike. It's okay. I ended up getting another bike a year or 2 later, a GT bump, and it was cool camouflage colors, and it was killer. It was a good stunt bike. I hit a lot of jumps on that bike. I broke my arm on it. What else did I get? Did not get the picture of Santa Claus. Okay, that was strike 1. That hit hard a little bit. Okay, I did not get the gold controller from N64. That's fine though, because I got 2 controllers from the Costco pack. Wasn't a big deal. The Cole. Okay, so this Cole thing started way back when I was in 1st grade. There was a kid in my class named Kyle Cooper. And for whatever reason, the parents didn't seem to like Kyle Cooper, but all the kids did. And I don't know if his parents were divorced or what it was. I think his parents were divorced because I only saw his mom around. And even when I went to his house for his birthday parties, it was really just his mom, if I remember correctly. I don't know what it was. He was a good kid. I liked him. My parents didn't have a problem with him. But I know other parents used to talk about, oh, it's Kyle Cooper. Watch out for Kyle Cooper. I don't know why. Good kid. Anyway, show and tell in 1st grade, Mrs. Golden's 1st grade class, he brings in, before Christmas break, a lump of coal, like legit coal, jagged edged. It was shined up a little bit. They cleaned it up. It wasn't, they didn't have soot on it, so you couldn't get the black lung, which is good. But he brought this in and he said, hey, I asked for this from Santa Claus to prove that he was real, and because my mom said I was bad, so that's what you get. You get coal, and he brought it in. I was like, oh, shit. this guy brought in a pretty hard evidence that the clause is real. So fast forward, 1997, I would think I was in 5th grade at the time, 4th or 5th grade. That's why I asked. That's why I put on the list to add that to the mounting evidence I wanted to prove Santa Claus was real. What did I get that year? Inside my stocking, it was folded up in several paper towels. Probably Brawny. Or ShopRite brand, because we were poor. It was a square, one square of, what is it, Kingsford, whatever that brand is, charcoal. Just one cube of charcoal, not coal, charcoal, which I believe actually is like compressed wood. If I remember correctly, I'm not too smart on that stuff, but pretty sure it's just compressed wood. Anyway, it was in the paper towel because you get all the dust on it and stuff when you touch it. You get the black finger. That was as half-assing of a proof that you can get. That was what started to pique my investigative juices, where I really got weary of the reality of the clause. So I got my gifts and I go into the stocking. And usually in the stocking, this is where we get our underwears and our socks and our guinea teas from Santa Claus, or something else, chocolate or some garbage, some little gift, maybe a cassette, Weird Al cassette or whatever. And this is where I got the lump of charcoal. And it was very obvious that whoever did this pulled it from the bag of charcoal we had in our house. So I got the Libretti version of coal, which is Kingsford charcoal. The personal note, didn't get it. The Frogger I got, and the Warcraft I got. And I used to play Warcraft at my buddy's house, Pete, in his basement. We used to play for hours, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, all the time, building our empires and our villages and what have you, our strongholds. It was great. So that was the Christmas list, 1997, still intact, pretty good shape considering it's been locked in a Tupperware box. And look, I closed it up, I folded it, perfect right angles, always, and I sealed that in an envelope and sent it right up to the North Pole to the clause. So there you have it. But that year, long story longer, I did get the N64, and anybody who had an N64 at the time. Now, people are getting Xboxes now, PlayStation 5s, like new computers to play games on that, and the gaming is on another level. Obviously, we got it. The Switch, all that good stuff. But when the N64 came out, think about this. The previous game systems before the N64 were all 16-bit game systems. Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, I don't know what that was. I think that was maybe 10 or 12-bit, I don't know. Regular Nintendo, I think, was 8-bit. And then Sega Genesis came out big with that. They had Dreamcast, which, if you go back in the annals of video game history, Dreamcast was actually like comparable to a PlayStation or a Sega, PlayStation 1. Excuse me, not Dreamcast. Forget that. That was a mistake. Sega CD was before Dreamcast. Sega CD came out. That was comparable to the PlayStation 1, but PlayStation took over the market that year, and nobody cared about Sega CD, and then Sega had a counter with the Dreamcast. Anyway, N64 was the life changer for everybody. Everybody. I have to look at the numbers. I have to imagine it was probably the most popular selling game system in history at the time, as far as like the number of people who bought that historically. Because don't forget, you had N64. I don't even know if PlayStation came out then by that time. And everyone already had Sega and Super Nintendo, so they didn't go buy that anymore. They bought N64. That was it. There wasn't Xbox. There wasn't PlayStation 52s. There wasn't Switches. There wasn't Wii's. There was nothing. N64 was it. GoldenEye was it. Star Fox was it. That was the system to get. And we were rocking a regular Nintendo The one I still have, actually, in box, I think it's the same one. I don't know. I know I have one in box. We were rocking regular Nintendo when everyone else had Segas and Super Nintendos and what have yous, and then we got the N64 and we just leaped into the new millennium. Leaped into it. That gaming system changed my life as far as, everything. Almost everything. But what I do with gaming now, why I like technology and computer stuff, it all happened because we got the N64 and I was able to see games, play games. Couple that with the Frogger and the Warcraft, that was it for me. The overalls, that was it. That was, if nothing else, if you want to go back to 1 year in time that shaped me as an all-time loser, 1997 was it. I got computer games, I got N64, I got charcoal, and I got overalls. And that is why I am the way I am today. You want to know why? See, you don't need therapy, folks. You just need LPDS. Okay? And we'll get everybody back to the origin stories of everybody. That's why I am the freak, the weirdo, the loser, the nerd, the geek that I am today. The jabroni. It's because of 1997. If Santa Claus just ripped that list up and said, no, you gotta be better than that, who knows what would have happened to me? Who knows what I would have ended up becoming? Certainly not the success I am now, that's for damn sure. But I think that's it. That's all we got. That's the Christmas gift episode, Christmas 2022 in the LPDS universe. So thank you guys for your feedback. I didn't have any hotline calls, but don't forget to hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. You can dial that, and while you're hearing it ring and waiting to get on there, you can hit the like and subscribe button on all my stuff and spread the word. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple, iTunes, whatever it's called, and we're on Spotify. I'm going to try to get us on Google Play or whatever it's called, Google Podcasts or something like that. So spread the good word. Before we go, as always, the big three. Okay, this is the last episode of the year before the New Year's hits. And every episode we got to hit the big three. For those of you who don't know, it's the 3 pillars of the LPDS to staying strong and being a better, happier, more positive person, steeped in gratitude and health and wellness and spreading that goodness to everybody. Number 1, exercise every day, the easiest thing you can do. You burn the calories, you get the chemicals surging through your body, and you get healthier mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay? Number 2 is the hardest one to do. Probably a little easier during the holiday season. We got that positivity bug up our ass, but number 2 is don't be a shitty person, be a good person. Okay? When you're online and you want to be an asshole to somebody, or you want to take a jab at them and really stick it to them, just take the LPDS step back, take that step back, take a deep breath, and just don't do it. It's as simple a concept as that, but I know it's the most difficult thing to do because you get emotional when you see something you don't like and you want to just start clacking away, the keyboard cowboy that you are. We can't do it, okay? Take the step back and don't do it. Now, if you're good at that and you want to take it a step further, you counter it with a good action. You type, hey, good luck to you. God bless. Mazel. Whatever. Instead of saying something bad. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to flood the negative market with more negativity. That is not how you solve negativity in this world and division and chaos. You don't double down on it. Okay? So if you're not quite there yet mentally and emotionally to push good into that situation with a friendly comment or a nice compliment to somebody, then just take the step back and don't do anything at all. Because at the very least, you're not adding to the shit. Okay? You don't clean up shit with shit. All right? So that's number 2. Number 3, the most important one, is to be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. Whether it's family, friends, being home for the holidays, toilet, or overalls. If you got it, be thankful for it and don't take it for granted, because you never know when it's not going to be there anymore. All right? Thank you guys again. I hope you enjoyed. Again, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate Kwanzaa. Whatever holiday your faith follows and celebrates this time of year is the final holiday of the Holy Holiday Triumvirate. Peace and blessings to all of you. Happy Festivus. Merry Christmas. We'll see you in the new year. Don't forget to give your input to Profile Pick 2023. It's going to be a good one because it's going to be, controlled by the fans. You guys are going to have your input. So thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.